Welcome, dear students, to this revision class on medieval literature. So, today we'll discuss a few important topics that you need to brush up for your exam. So, first and foremost thing, the themes which are recurrent in medieval literature, they fall into several major categories which seem to reflect the concerns of life for people during that time. So, the main theme is the seven deadly sins. We'll see what they are. So, first is seven deadly sins, then seven heavenly virtues. Then the third one, that is the humor, theory of humors. Then values of courtly love and the code of chivalry. So these are the themes that we find in medieval literature. And sometimes you may get a short answer question on the seven deadly sins. They are lust, gluttony, avarice or greed, sloth, wrath, envy, and pride. So these seven are considered deadly sins from the biblical point of view, and in morality plays in other romances, we find references to these seven deadly sins. And the seven heavenly virtues are chastity, temperance, charity, diligence, forgiveness, kindness, and humility. So these are desirable qualities in a person, and seven deadly sins are something that you need to avoid. Then physiognomy or medieval science, which deals with the humors in our body. It is based on the idea that the mental and emotional characteristics could be determined from physical characteristics like physique, hair, and voice quality. And another offshoot of this is offshoot of this science is the concept of four humors in human beings. A traditional theory that said state of health, and by extension the state of mind or character, one's character depends upon a balance among four elements, that is blood, yellow bile, phlegm, and black bile. So these are four fluids in our body. Four fluids. So if one is prominent, then that person would have a particular characteristic feature pertaining to that particular humor, closely allied with the four elements air, fire, water, and earth. During medieval period and also later on, Ben Jonson popularized this concept of four humors in his works. The four humors, the first one is blood, and the corresponding element is air, and the description is hot and moist, and the word used is sanguine. So if a person has this blood as a prominent fluid in their body, then we'll say that that person is sanguine, amorous, happy, and generous person, something desirable. And if a person has yellow bile, if the fluid is a fluid that is prominent is yellow bile, then the person would be choleric, violent, and vengeful. And if it is phlegm, then the person would be lethargic, phlegmatic, cowardly, dull, pale. And the last one, that is black bile, that is corresponding to the element earth, the person would be melancholic. If the predominant fluid in the body of a person is black bile, then the person would be melancholic in nature, lazy, sentimental, gluttonous. So those are four humors. So sometimes for short answers you will get a question to comment on the four humors during the medieval period. Then another concept is courtly love. Love as a certain inborn suffering derived from the sight of an excessive meditation upon the beauty of the opposite sex, mostly by the night. The night would be mourning and meditating and reflecting on the beautiful damsel he is in love with. Then chivalry, system of discipline and social interaction that is derived from the warrior class of medieval times. primarily the class of trained warriors who participated in crusades, in holy crusades. Crusade is a war, a pilgrimage to the Holy Land to reclaim or recapture Jerusalem. The ideals and behavior code governed both knight and gentlewoman, adhering to the oath of loyalty to one's lord, acceptance of certain rules of warfare, adoration of a particular lady for purposes of self-improvement. The earlier mentioned the seven virtues would be there in the knight. The chivalrous person who is diligent, who is courageous. Ideals of knighthood were often violated by the knight warrior themselves. These ideals survived as knighthood came to be thought of as an honor to be bestowed upon those who had proven themselves worthy. Rank and status of knight began to take on aspects of a minor nobility that one could achieve rather than having to be born into. You can attain this knighthood. And later on, towards the end of the medieval period, the status of knights declined. A knight should be known for justice, faith, humility, courage, defense, and he'll be protecting his damsel. He goes for in search of this holy grail. Such crusades are part of the life of knights. The chivalry core has never died, and it is still the basis for what are today considered as good manners or proper behavior, such as women and children first. Manners that is desirable in people. Then we'll come to the characteristic features of medieval romance. The romance came from the Norman French, and it is influenced by French romances. Often it contained a supernatural event, something magical. It is set in a world where ordinary laws or nature are often suspended, and there will be an idealized hero, a knight, fighting against the forces of evil. Usually, it centers on a quest. The hero goes on a perilous, dangerous journey in search of something of greater value, or to rescue a woman in search of the Holy Grail, for example. So these are all examples. These are a few characteristic features of a romance. The story is old in origin but simple in structure. Writers in later times set stories in an earlier time, such as Ivanhoe, or a modern fantasy stories. For example, events and characters come in sets of 3. When the hero dies, he takes on the features of a god or is remembered as someone more than human. For example, Beowulf. The questions raised, that is actually an epic. The questions raised in the stories are similistic and have obvious answers, similar to children's stories. So let's see the characteristic features of a romantic hero of this romances. It is similar to the epic hero. I have told you, like Beowulf, goes on a quest, often with companions. The story of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table demonstrates bravery, is faithful and loyal, intelligent and wise, and often shows a need to impress others with his heroic deeds. Represents the ideals of heroism and leadership in his society. They follow this code of chivalry. Honor is extremely important for them, shows respect for women, is a skilled warrior, and follow the rules of combat, always pays debts, fulfills obligations, is concerned about the welfare of his opponent, has a sense of fairness. He's an ideal person, an ideal lover for every woman. They are portrayed like that.